Hello and welcome to Baking on a Budget. Now this time I've got a real classic. This is a Bakewell Tart. A Bakewell Tart from scratch. Going to be absolutely delicious. We have a beautiful sweet short crust pastry. The frangipane filling topped with some icing. It's going to be fantastic. Now as ever, I have everything that we need to make it over here. I'll run through the quantities of this, tell you exactly how much we've got and how much all of this cost me. For the pastry, we have 200 grams of plain flour at 10 pence. We have 30 grams of icing sugar at about 3 pence. We have a pinch of salt. We have 50 grams of butter at 38 pence. And we have 50 grams of lard at 10 pence. And we have 1 egg at 14 pence. Now, for the frangipane, we have 80 grams of ground almonds at 80 pence. We have 1 teaspoon of almond essence at 12 pence. We have 100 grams of butter at 76 pence. We got 100 grams of sugar at 12 pence, we got 2 eggs at 28 pence, and we got 50 grams of flour at 3 pence. Now we're also going to have some jam in there, maybe about 50 grams, maybe not that much, but I'll price that at 12 pence. And for the topping we have 300 grams of icing sugar at 75 pence. Now if we add all of that up, the total recipe cost is £3.75. We're going to get 8 delicious slices of Bakewell Tart from this recipe, and that makes each slice 46 pence. Now, first thing we want to do is the sweet short crust pastry. The pastry in the bowl, we want the 200 grams of plain flour, followed by 30 grams of the icing sugar and a pinch of salt. And we'll just bring all that together first with a spoon. Now to that I'm going to add 100 grams of fats. For this one I've got 50 grams of butter and 50 grams of lard. Now choices, you could do all butter, you could use a vegetable shortening, many different things you could use in this pastry, but I'm going for the lard and the butter because I do prefer it. Now what we want to do is rub all of this into itself, get all of those pieces of butter flattened and all of the flour rubbed into there. Now this takes a few minutes, so I'm just going to get on with it and I'll come back as soon as that has turned into a nice light breadcrumb. That is looking good. That's the sort of consistency we want, just all of those fats rubbed into the flour and sugar mix. Right, now I'm going to crack this egg and give it a quick whisking. Very good, and now we're just going to add that to the mix and bring the pastry together with the spoon. This may need a little cold water. We'll see what the consistency of it is like once this egg has been thoroughly mixed into it. Now get our hands in at this point and see if it's going to come together. That seems to be coming together quite nicely. We'll just continue with that, and if we get away with the egg without any water, then that's fair dues. If I feel it does need a little water, then that's fair dues as well. But that to me is feeling just right. Very good. Now we just want to pick it all up from the bowl like that, get it on the table, and we'll make it into a sort of a round. That is just fine. Now that's going to get wrapped in cling film and it's going into the fridge, and it'll probably stay there for about an hour. It is warm in the kitchen today and we want this to be nice and cool before we start actually rolling it out. Okay, now the next thing we can do whilst the pastry is cooling is make the frangipane filling for this. So we got the sugar in the bowl, we got the butter in the bowl, and what we want to do is combine these two. Fork just to get it started, and then we'll get into it with this whisk here. But that butter's still a little bit tough, so we'll just help it on its way with this fork first. Combine that. I'm just going to give it a quick whisk. Again, it's a little bit stiff, so I'm just going to put the whisk on low. Now to that in goes the ground almonds, and we're going to beat them in as well, just very slowly. That's all looking good. Still a bit chunky, but this will loosen up as soon as we get the eggs in it. Now we have here some almond extract, and I'm just going to put a teaspoon of that in. Fairly strong stuff. So we have a teaspoon of the almond extract. Right, so what we have in here is 1 egg and 1 egg yolk, and I'm going to put that into this mix here, and this, as I say, will soften it up and just bind the whole thing together. In it goes. Now again, I'll start that off with a spoon just to get it combined, and then we'll beat it with the whisk. And we'll have some flour here as well, just in case this gets too runny, and we can always add a little bit of flour in to help stiffen it back up. But so far so good. That's starting to smell excellent, by the way. I can smell the almonds coming from that. That's looking good there. Give it another whisk. Now, just looking at that, I don't know, I'm going to say a little bit of flour. I'm not going to put all of that in. Put about that much just to stiffen it a little. The trick here is we want this to be fairly firm, but still loose enough to put through a piping bag, because we're going to actually pipe it into the tart case. And I'm saying that's fine, that's good. So, I didn't use all of the flour in there, but just see how you go with that. If it seems a bit loose to you, put a bit more in, and keep going until you have a nice consistency, you know, which will stand up and not be too runny. Right, that's fine for me. On to the next stage. It's firmed up quite a bit. Pleased with that. Put that there, and I have prepared a flan tin. I've put some lard right around the sides of it and on the bottom, and I've cut this circle of greaseproof paper for the whole thing. That's going to be just fine. Now we want to roll this out to just a bit bigger than that. You see, just a bit bigger than the flan tin, to about here, so that it will go down the walls nice and easily. So to do that, I'm going to get a little bit of flour on the board. I'm going to get a little bit of flour on the pin, and we're going to start rolling this out. Now, this pastry is notorious, really. It may crack around the edges especially, but that's okay. It's nothing to worry about. It can be repaired, and it will be fine. And the idea is we just want to try to keep it as round as possible and flatten it out. That is going to do just fine. Right, so I'm going to roll this up onto the pin very carefully. That's quite a thick crust there. This is going to be delicious. Right, we've got that. Now we just want to unroll it over the tin. There we go. A little bit more over that way. Right, now the idea here is we just want to lift it up and let it sort of relax into the tin. You don't want to push it in from there because you'll split it. But if we just lift it up first, let it relax in, that is going to be A-okay. Alright, and again, you can use your fingers, you can take a piece of dough off and stick it in. I just use the flat of my finger here, and I find that that gets it right into the corners of here, just the way we want it. And as you can hear in the background, the oven, it is coming up to temperature, but I also have a chocolate cake in there right now. So I'll put this back in the fridge until the chocolate cake is done, and then we'll be able to get it prepped up for its blind baking, and it will be just fine. Now I'm just going to take the back of this knife and take off any of the excess here. And we'll have enough left here. I might very well make a very small peach melba for myself with the rest of this pastry. I'll do a peach melba recipe if anyone's interested in that. I do like that, very simple to do, and they are absolutely delicious. But there's enough there, I think, to get in the small fluted tin which I have, so we will use that. Right, I'm going to stick that in the fridge just until my chocolate cake comes out, and then we'll prep this up and get the blind baking done. Okay, now we are going to just prong the bottom of this a bit, like so. Then we want to get the greaseproof paper onto it, get that right into the corners. All good. And here we have the baking rice. I mean, you can use whatever you have to do this with, the blind baking. I prefer this rice. Used it many times for this. Use it time and time again. You know, it lasts a long, long time, the rice, doing this. Get that in the oven at about 175. Leave it in there for about 20 minutes. See how it's doing, and then on to the next stage. Okay, This has cooled down nicely, beautifully crisp by the way. What I'm going to do is just spoon a little jam on here. Again, we don't want deep sort of thing of jam here. I mean, it's up to yourself, but just a coating on the bottom will do. What that works out at, I think I put 50 grams in the recipe, but that may be a little ambitious. So I'm just going to take it as it goes and see what this comes out at. There we go. Now we'll just try to spread that out as evenly as we can. A little bit lumpy this jam, but that's okay. That will do fine for me. Rightio, so with that done, we've got our frangipane in the piping bag. I'm just going to cut off a fairly generous hole on the bottom of that. There we go. And now what I want to do is just pipe this all the way around. There we go. A little bit in that corner. A little bit more down there. That has worked out pretty well. And now I just want to roughly sort of flatten that into place. Didn't want to spread it straight on here. It will disturb the layer of the jam, but we can get this all the way around like this now. Flatten it out. Now this is going back in the oven. It's going back in the oven at 170 and it's going to sit there for about 20 minutes. I want to keep an eye on it. We don't want this to go rock hard on top or anything like that. So we just want to keep an eye on it, and when it starts going a beautiful golden brown, then we shall say it's there. Right, back into the oven. Okay, and whilst that is baking away, what we have in the bowl is 300 grams of icing sugar, and to that I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of cold water. May need a little more water, but I do want this to be a fairly stiff icing for the top of this Bakewell Tart. And this really is the only ingredients in here. It's icing sugar and water. That's it. That's come together. That may be a little stiff still. We're going to put another half. It comes together really quickly, the icing sugar, you know, with water, and it's very easy to get it too wet. So little by little at this point. That's going to sit on the top of that Bakewell Tart very nicely. Now there's one more thing we want to do, and we want to make some red icing. We're just going to take a little piece of this. I'll show you. Right, so I've just taken a touch of that into this other bowl, and here I have some red food colouring, and I'm just going to add this a little bit at a time, because this will loosen up the icing also, and we just want to make this into a beautiful red icing. Now with that, I'm going to put it also into a piping bag, and we'll use this just to put a pattern on the top of this Bakewell Tart. Right, that should do it. If we need a little more, we can always make a little more up. Okay, that's the icing's prepared. Now all we need is the tart out of the oven. Okay, and here we are back out of the oven. Now you can see that has set very nice. It's risen a little. In fact, it's risen above the circle of the pastry case, but this is okay. Once this is cooled, it will push back down and give enough room to get the covering of icing on there. But that is fresh out of the oven. It is red hot. I'm going to leave it to cool for about 15-20 minutes. Right, this has cooled a bit. I've managed to push it down a little bit with the spoon just so it's going to be able to take that icing. It has shrunken back, they always do. But regardless of all of that, this is going to be one absolutely delicious Bakewell Tart. Now, I'm going to get some of this icing on here. And we just need to spoon that on with the back of the spoon. Get that right up to the edges. Again, it has a bit of a rustic look to it. It really doesn't bother me. You can go for perfection with this sort of stuff if you wish, but it's all going to eat exactly the same way. So we just want to get that reasonably flat, like that. Here we have the red icing that we made at the same time as that, And what I'm going to do is just cut the smallest little piece off the bottom of this piping bag. That's probably not more than a millimetre. Now we want to put some straightish lines across here. Must be a little air in the piping bag, I think. Okay, that will do me. Now we take a skewer, or could use a toothpick or anything like that, and we just want to pull that down there and then push it back up that way. Bakewell Tart. Now I'm going to let this icing set a little bit. I'm going to cut into that and I'm going to thoroughly enjoy a slice of that. So I'll tell you exactly how this tastes once it's cooled and once the icing has set a little. Okay, and there we have it, Bakewell Tart. Looks absolutely scrumptious, smells delicious as well, by the way. All of the almonds you can smell. I'm going to take a taste. I'm going to take a piece off there with the fork and we'll scoop that up. Look at that, the frangipane looks absolutely beautiful. Nice little line of jam in there. First taste, and you can tell why this is a classic dish. It is a classic dish. It's absolutely beautiful. The almonds and the sweet short crust pastry, nice dollop of icing on top of there. Marvellous. And as I say, that whole Bakewell Tart, I think it's in a 9-inch flan tin, £3.75. But look at that, making this slice 46p. That's reasonable, I would say. That would be delicious with a strong coffee. I mean, it's delicious as it is, but with a strong coffee, that would just add something to it. That's really scrumptious and very simple to make. Now, this recipe also, you could make the individual, like cherry bakewells, you know, stick a cherry on top of it, in the individual sort of muffin cases or something like that. And this recipe would probably give you half a dozen, maybe 7 of those. So there it is, a classic Bakewell Tart. Absolutely scrumptious. Certainly be making many more of these. So can I say, if you've enjoyed the video, do give it a thumbs up. It does help the channel a lot. If you know anyone who might like to make one of these, do share the video with them. And if you would like to see more simple, inexpensive and absolutely delicious food, do consider subscribing to the channel. There will be a new video every Wednesday. So, for now, I'm going to finish off this Bakewell Tart, and I thank you very much for watching.